Now, what happens is the data in the credit history report, that is then used to provide a grade on your credit. So remember, they're compiling all of this. They're aggregating this, the credit bureaus are. So all of this information then can get fed into a credit scoring model. And it basically gives you a grade on your credit. So it's like, well, if this is his credit history, what's his grade or her grade on the credit? That grade is known as your credit score. Okay, that grade is known as your credit score. Now, there's a couple common credit scoring models. One is by Fair Isaac Company, which is your FICO score, which is one of your more popular scores. It's used in a lot of lending. And then you have your Vantage score. Okay, Vantage score is what you'll find in a lot of your credit cards and credit reporting, like Credit Karma. They take that information and they use what's called the Vantage score. Okay, so you've got a couple credit scoring models. You'll have your FICO score, you'll have your Vantage scores, what you have when it comes to your grade, your credit score. Now, credit scores, they range generally from 300 to 900. Okay, lower scores are unhealthy, higher scores are healthier credit. Okay, so if you have a credit score, a grade, it's in the 300s or 400s, that's an unhealthy score. If you have credit in like the 800s, that's a healthy credit score. Okay, so I'm going to just give you a basic overview of your scores. 300 to anything that starts with a 3 or 4 is bad credit. Okay, that's generally considered very, very poor credit. 5 to 599, so anything that starts with a 5 is generally considered poor. If it starts with a 6, if your credit score starts with a 6, that's average. If it starts with a 7, that's good. If it's 8 plus, that's excellent. Okay. Now, a couple things on this, just for clarification. A lot of places online will say 3 to 850. Okay, they will say there's credit scores will go to 850. Where other times you see it very curiously, it'll say 850 plus, which is always curious to me. If we're going to have a range, why does the range go to something plus? Okay, now I'm basing 900 off of my experience. I have seen people with 900 credit scores. Okay, not anything higher than 900, but I have seen people with what you might consider perfect credit, and I have seen the 900 credit scores before. That's how I know they personally exist. So anyway, so if you see that online, like why did he say 900 when these say 850? I don't know why they say 850. I really don't know why, because I just know I've seen lots of people that are 870, 880, 890, and 2 people I have seen that had a perfect 900 credit score. So anyway, take that for what you will, but that's where I get that range. Okay, also, other places online will interpret the scores slightly different, or they may say 750 plus is excellent. Okay, it is what it is. Choose your scoring. But if you're looking at it and it starts with a 3 or 4, you generally know that it's going to be tough. If it starts with an 8, you're going to have an excellent credit. So let me tell you what this looks like practically speaking. 300 to 400 credit scores, or anything that starts with a 3 or 4, you're going to have a very difficult time, and it's probably going to be close to impossible, if not impossible, to get any sort of credit extended to you. Okay, lenders just generally aren't going to want to extend credit if your credit's in the 3 or 4s. That's not like 3 or 4 is not somebody that started out and they've never had credit before, and it just starts low and it gets higher. That's not how it works. 3 to 400 or 3 to 500 score, that's what you would consider bad. That's somebody that had a problem with their credit. Something happened, and maybe they've just been neglectful or negligent of it. Maybe something happened in their life. It's hard to say, but 3 to 4 means it's a very unhealthy, it's a bad situation, and you're probably not going to get a loan with your credit in that. Okay, not always 100%, but most likely you're not going to be able to. If your credit starts with a 5, you're going to have a very difficult time getting a loan. Doesn't mean that you won't be able to get a loan, but it does mean that you're going to have a much more difficult time. You're probably going to get denied a lot before you'll find somebody that will accept you, and your terms will definitely be unfavorable. Okay. If your credit starts with a 6, you're going to find obtaining credit to start being a little easier. Okay, and you're not going to find hateful terms. Now, obviously, it depends on your range. If you're a 601, that's different than a person with a 698 credit score. But if it starts with a 6, you can generally start thinking about, I can most likely, especially depending on where you land in the sixes, I can most likely obtain credit. If your credit score starts with a 7, no problem. If your credit score starts with an 8, then you're basically considered to have perfect credit. Okay, so that's a little bit about credit scores.